This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football a la Turca. It's been a long time since we last spoke to you. It's been a long time since we all spoke to each other really in this sort of context. Lots of stuff going on obviously. Corona is still wreaking havoc on the world. Football is still without fans. And you haven't had a Football a la Turca podcast for a couple of months, so for that we do apologize. There's some stuff going on. We've been having issues lining up our schedules, I think. I recently moved, which makes it also very difficult actually impossible to follow on our recent our recording schedule, which was usually Monday evenings, but that's not possible anymore for now. So we're recording this right now on Wednesday afternoon, and I have Umut with me and Yakup with me. Guys, it's been a long time since we last chatted about football properly, at least. We, of course, have our group chat, which we constantly post and still, but it's been a long time since we've done this. So how have you guys been since the last time we recorded, which I think at this point has been at least 4 or 5 months? Just in general, are you guys doing well? I know, Yakup, you've had Corona in between that time span as well. Your parents have had it as well, but you're all good now, right?
Yeah, we're doing fine. It's a scary moment, but we're doing good.
Glad to hear that. Umut, you're of course back in the UK right now, close to London, where at the moment things are getting a little hectic as well. How are you doing? What have you been doing? What have you been doing to keep busy? Because your semester's over, you don't have any school stuff right now. When are you starting again, and what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied?
Well, I've been downloading some stuff like Unreal Engine, Unity 3D, and virtual machines to keep myself sane when I'm all not busy. Because to keep things going, you have to, get new things to learn, keep yourself busy to keep your sanity right. Otherwise, you're all locked up in a room. Nothing but the 4 walls like surrounding you, so you have to just do new things, learn, improve yourself. And I've been applying to like many jobs recently, but most of them are rejects, unfortunately. So I'm still trying to get a job, like to extend my visa here to get a working visa, to be a successful software engineer.
Yeah, that's all I can say to that. What really is, just hang in there, man. You'll eventually, hopefully, get a positive reply. It's obviously it's not easy for people like yourself, students who are in a dorm. You're alone most of the time. I imagine that's not very fun. But fortunately, there's a thing such as Skype and Discord and all those types of things where you can keep in touch with your friends. But you know what, guys, let's talk about some football. It's also a little bit of therapeutic for us, I guess, to be able to chat about football still. Perhaps, I think none of us were really positive about the return of football at the start of the season because of the lack of fans. Has your vision on that changed in the recent months? Has football perhaps given you something to look forward to every week? Yakup, let's start with you.
I mean, it's still a bit odd, so to say, because it's difficult to watch the games without fans, because the fans are such an integral part of the game itself. And with all the transfers that Trabzonspor has been going through, with all the major pieces that have left the team, and the injuries that plague the team with the new guys, it has been a rough start. But I'm really happy it's back, because uh, I don't know how it's in Belgium. I don't know how the UK is pretty similar. It's pretty much everywhere is shut down, and we're about to have a curfew in a few days. So you don't really have a lot of things that can help you to take your mind off of the daily um, depression mood that is just hanging around around the country. So it's been good to watch the games every weekend and every weekday, so to say. I watch a lot more games, and it's been fine. It's been great.
Yeah, of course, for Trabzon, big loss of quality with Alexander Sokolov leaving, and also a rocky start to the season. Abdullah Avci has since then taken over. How are you liking his coaching style? How is the team performing under him? And have you seen the team evolve compared to the start of the season?
I mean, it has been a good change. I really wasn't a fan of him coming over, but he has proven me wrong, and he has been doing really well. There has been like a stat of his that in like 12 games or something that he was at Trabzonspor, he won 7 of them, he drew 3, and he lost 1 in the league. So the games just they speak for themselves. The team seems to be a lot more organized at the moment. Our midfield is still a mess, um, but I'm happy that Berat had a couple of minutes to show himself yesterday, and the team. I think the team especially lacked a confidence. Had a confidence issue, and it seems that with Auge coming in and with Egemen being his assistant coach, assistant manager, it kind of turned that ship around. It seems that the players are more confident in their abilities. They are able to do what they want to do more freely. It's odd. It's odd, being hearing a lot about how Auge was pretty bad when he was at Besiktas. Everybody knows his stint at the national team. He wasn't that good there, and to see him turn around Trabzonspor so quickly, it's been great. It's been great.
And how much do you think the impact of a lack of fans in the stands might have on that, giving him perhaps more time to adjust, less pressure uh, on the pitch when the team is on the pitch, really? Do you think that plays a factor in his quick turnaround?
I mean, the Trabzonspor fans can be difficult, but I think that if we had the fans back, especially the first couple of weeks, should have been a rocky start because there were a lot of 1-0 games, 0-1, 1-1 games. So those are then generally the more um, boring games, and fans want to see attacking football. But I think that all in all, fans do have a positive effect on the team because we have really loyal fans, and sometimes the fans can win us games at home. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that it has been good for Auja, and it has been bad maybe in some ways. Good because he could have he shrugged off the first couple of weeks that went a little bit um, not that well. But in the longer term, I think that having fans back at the stadium should be priority because we have seen it all at a lot of teams, outside of Trabzonspor too, that a lack of fans really makes a difference. Derbies don't feel like derbies anymore, and I just hope that the country, the world just sorts things out, so we at least can have normalcy in a while.
Yeah, for sure. The thing I was mainly aiming at with that question is perhaps it was a blessing in disguise for Abdullah Avci at the start because you start off with a lot less pressure because of the fans not being in the stadium, which in the long run can have a positive effect when the fans do return, because then the team is already in a good flow, good on morale, good confidence levels, and then perhaps if there's a slip up, it probably won't impact the team as much as it would if, because with Besiktas at the start of the season, he had a really rocky start. Like, I think they got like 5 points in their first 7 games or something. Like, it was really, I might be mistaken there, but it was a really rocky start for him, and I think that really got him shifting away from his vision really quickly. He went from trying to play a very modern approach of football with a false left back and stuff like that, to just shifting back to Şenol Güneş football, really, which was just relying on Quaresma to drop a ball in the box and hope that somebody would score. Not Quaresma actually, but Caner in this context. But that's what Şenol Güneş did with Quaresma, and then Abdulhavci did that very much with Caner then. Whereas I think maybe had he started with the current conditions without fans in the stadium, perhaps he would have tried longer, would have taken longer before he gave up on his vision. But yeah, that's just obviously my perspective as a Besiktas fan, because I do think Abdulhavci is a great coach. I just think that it's once again was confirmed last season that pressure is not his best friend, as we saw with the national team and with Besiktas, of course. But perhaps it'll be different now with Trabzonspor. But obviously they're coming from behind. It's always easier to come from behind, I guess. Less pressure. I've seen that a lot with Besiktas as well, in like, especially like the 2000s, where they'd have like a really rocky start of the season, and you basically, the title is lost already after 10 games or something, and then a new coach is brought in, and then suddenly everything starts going well, and you're like, oh, we're great, but then the next season comes and you start with that new coach, and then suddenly the pressure is on from match day 1, and suddenly it doesn't work anymore. So I kind of dreaded that would happen with Sergen as well, where he took over last season from Abdulhavci, and everything was going great, but obviously you're coming from behind. There's a lot less pressure, no expectations really, because everyone's already given up on the season pretty much. And then you start getting hope again, but you of course miss out, and then the new season comes, and it didn't start well for Besiktas either, but they've since then shaped up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's something I've seen occur in the past, and perhaps Abdulhavci now can prove that stigma wrong as well. Anything to add to that, or shall we move to Umut?
I agree. Abdulhavci has been a coach for a while now, and everybody knows the way he plays, and a lot of people don't like it, and there are obvious reasons why, because I think that his modern approach doesn't really translate that well maybe every time. And we have seen that at Basaksehir he had a lot of time and he had pretty much no pressure at all. And the moment he joined Besiktas, that flipped like 180, and he had a lot of pressure. He had a lot of pressure from the fans. And, I think that Trabzonspor in that regard, at the current stage that we are in, with all the losses, pretty much a lot of fans already accepted that this year may be, a bad year. We were also out of the Turkish Cup, so this year is just we'll tough it out, and we'll see at the end of the season what happens. And every point we pick up, and every win we get is just a positive point. Well, let's hope that he has a good season. Trabzonspor's team at the moment still needs a lot of additions to it, and it seems that the current board isn't really doing a lot about it. So I'm happy with Ovca at the moment, but the moment he starts to regress a little bit, he will be raked over the coals as is tradition in Turkey. So let's hope for a long and fruitful contract for him, so to say.
Yeah, let's pick up again with Trabzon in a bit, but let's first talk about Galatasaray, Umut. How has the season so far progressed for Galatasaray and for Fatih Terim? How do you like the football that's been being played? How has Arda impacted the team? Falcao's absence still. Can we consider his transfer a bust at this point? And Bayadiaknis return to the team as well. Let's talk about all of that. Umut, let's get your views on the current state of Galatasaray.
Well, currently, we lost in our last game. It was a pretty bad game, actually, because we saw that Fatih Terim always comes up late on these substitutions and decides to proceed to move Ryan Donk into the front, looking for a goal, as a 90s mentality, actually, because it's so old-fashioned, relying on a tower defender going onto the opposition box and looking for a cross and header, looking for a goal that way, instead of just building an attack with a patience and using it against your opponent. But it wasn't pretty, lucky for Galatasaray, actually, because in the last game against Besiktas, it was pretty unlucky that Mbaye Diagne went up against his, high, boots against Besiktas defender, and it resulted in a foul and a red card for Galatasaray, and Galatasaray had to play like the half of the rest of the second half with 10 men, which is a hard task to do against a team like Besiktas, who is just like strong and physique kind of team. So with that kind of loss and a striker is what Galatasaray lacks this season. So with that kind of a loss, Galatasaray simply couldn't have anything other to do than just wasting and spending the half of the game for playing for the draw, because it was so hard to defend against a tough team like Besiktas, going from sides, going from flanks, and there's an Abu Bakar factor in the middle. So it was a deserved win for Besiktas, I would say. But we can say Fatih Terim has to change some habits of his and looks for some development plan for the future, because all the failures he's got, he always wants a transfer for the team instead of just developing and improving the players he already has. I mean, just look at Sergen Yalçın and his team. He bought Rozier or like Abu Bakar for like simple prices, a low budget team, but he just developed them into like first team players in a couple of months by being patient and just relying on them. But I don't know, but maybe it's because of the factor of an age. Fatih does not want to like deal with these issues anymore. Like, he's old and I know, maybe he's past his prime, but he's more mature than he is, and he doesn't want to deal with these issues, with the details anymore. Like comparison with him and Sergen is that Sergen is really eager to look for the future, but when you see Fatih Terim, he's just old, and sometimes you have to give attention to these details, and difference from him and Sergen is that because of his age, I don't know what to say here. Like, he just wants done players like Irfan Can and Edin Visca, who is in his like 30s right now. And Irfan Can, I think I'm same age as him right now. He's 25 actually. So he doesn't want to shine the players from the back page, like from, I don't know, from the second team, from the reserves. Instead of that, he just wants to buy done players with the giving the money,
finished product basically, and just players that can have an instant impact. And it's kind of what Galatasaray have been doing for a while now. I feel.
Yeah, like, and considering we are not Real Madrid or some kind of like Barcelona, we can say that we have to be somewhat, you know, conservative on paying these money regarding these transfers, and look for some scout products. But at the end of the day, we see that Galatasaray at the start of the season rejected Joseph de Souza and get to sign with Etabo, who is an agent player, you know. I think he's from the same agency as Etabo, is same agency as Valentin Ozanwafor, Emre Kılıç. I think Cagney is one of them. I'm not sure, but these agencies has many players and offers them to the clubs and gets deals done with the managers at last. And actually, these are the things gets the teams down, lets the teams down at the end, paying these money into the players who doesn't actually aren't promising as much, fails the team at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that Fatih Terim talked about like looking for the future and investing in the youth of the players, and doing the absolutely opposite at the end, like signing Falcao, signing old players like Arda. Maybe Arda Turan incident maybe like in a different occasion. It can be considered as a different occasion rather than Falcao's, because he's a, you know, Galatasaray player at the end of the day. He came from the he came from these grounds. He just wants to like show himself at the end once again, shine again before he retires. He just wanted a second chance and got it. I certainly don't oppose this decision.
Yeah.
And he's been actually performing really well lately, because on the field he is the brain and the creativity of Galatasaray, and without him Galatasaray really stuck on not knowing what to do on the field, not connecting any passes in front of goal. And Galatasaray needs someone like Arda on the field to lead them into the goal, lead them into positions. And I think it's a good decision by the part of the management and the board, which I certainly was against at first, but at the end they proved me wrong, actually. And with regards to Falcao, I think he won't return at the end. I think he's done with Galatasaray because the last time he came to the field, he just played like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, and he just gone off injured again with his chronic injuries. And last week I saw a goal from Falcao, which was scored in 2000, claimed to be a first ever goal from his career in Colombian League, scored in the year 2000, which is the year Galatasaray won the UEFA Cup. And that raised some questions on my mind, like, what is the real age of this player? Like, is he providing the real information towards the teams, or like is he faking his identity the whole time, and the age, which we can't know. Really.
Batuhan Karadeniz scored his first goal at 16. It's perfectly plausible that
Yeah,
someone
but
like Falcao did that.
looking at Falcao's age, he should be like 14 or 15 at the year 2000. I don't know. So, like, it was like 21 years ago from now.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely creepy, to be honest.
That's a way to put it, sure.
Yeah. And last but not least, we should say something about Omar Abdullahi, who had a weird accident on the New Year night.
Playing with fireworks.
Yeah, fireworks blown up on his face, and he just immediately went to hospital. The initial images were purely graphic, which I shouldn't be seen, actually. Like, I shouldn't have seen. It was pure gore. I was really worried about him. Like, there was some rumors about him losing his eyesight or whatsoever, which was pretty worrying. But yesterday there was news afterwards. I don't know. He was a part of the main team and a good right back, and I would prefer him instead of Martin Linus, actually, because Martin Linus is a good backup player, but seeing technically and physically, Omar Abdullahi were like ahead of him the whole time, which is a pretty bad news for Galatasaray for the rest of the season, which is a tough season, and we still have like 22 weeks to go. And with the lack of rotation Galatasaray has, is pretty bad news.
Yeah, quickly, a few things I'd like to pick up in there. I think we were all a bit skeptical, to say the least, about Arda's return to Galatasaray. Obviously, he came in with a big fanfare. Well, fanfare. He came in with a lot of hype when he came to Basaksehir. But he kind of fizzled out there. Wasn't playing at all anymore in the ending. Looked like he was kind of done. But to his credit, he has most definitely given it his all since returning to Galatasaray. He looks fit. He like against Besiktas, I didn't think he was particularly good, but he wanted to win. And he was very he was one of the few Galatasaray players where I really got the impression of he's here for more than just a point. I got the feeling from the lineup from Fatih Terim and just the way the team played that it was all about keeping the nil and maybe score a lucky goal on the other end. I didn't feel like Galatasaray came to win necessarily. But with Arda, you felt that there was desire there to do well, whether it was by playing well or by trying to put pressure on the referee to send Rosier off, which I think could have happened. Yeah, he was definitely reminded me a little bit of Hasan Şaş back in the day, like kind of the spirit of the team and of Galatasaray was definitely there in Arda, where I missed that with players like Belhanda and stuff, which I think is one of the reasons why Özer isn't a big fan. I did more want to speak about the broad picture of Galatasaray's season so far, but I do want to pick your brain quickly on something, because when I saw the lineup from Galatasaray and I saw both Emres on the bench, I kind of immediately got the impression that Fatih Terim was not very brave in his choices, and he was kind of pragmatic. What did you feel when you saw the lineup, and how do you feel like the game played out? Of course, the red card played a big part, but what did you have? What impression did you get from Fatih Terim and his intentions for this match?
Well, after seeing the lineup, the initial thought came to my mind was the think that Fatih Terim wasn't gonna play a position game and just give the ball to Beşiktaş and like look for counter attacks. And playing Etebo, who is not in form, and he doesn't actually play occasionally rather than these cup games. We can say that, as you said, like both Emre's were on the bench. I'm not against like keeping Emre Akbaba on the bench, but Emre Kılınç was a big part of the starting lineup and the possession game Galatasaray has been playing.
Yeah, and one of their
since
best
the
players.
start of the season. Yeah, like the main players and the talented ones. Also Feguli on the bench, who hasn't been playing for a long time. I believe he had some injury, but Fatih Terim wanted to keep him on the bench for these occasions of need, but he didn't bring him in. The main problem is that we don't have any other alternatives for the position of Taylan Antalya, who has been playing a great role for deep lying playmaker, and also he provided well defensively as well. Because of these kind of shortage in the line, the whole squad affected Galatasaray in a negative manner. So compared to with Beşiktaş midfield, you have like Atiba, Josef de Souza, and Oğuzhan, which were like tougher than Galatasaray, and talent-wise, he wanted to keep the ball. Sergen, who wanted to keep the ball and like play a possession game and like dictate the game when like coming out with a lineup like that.
And that's something that Sergen's been criticized for as well, that he, like now he started with Oğuzhan, but he has started several games as well with three quote-unquote defensive midfielders, where he would start with Joseph, Atiba, and Necip, for example, which is something that fans have been criticizing. But it's kind of funny in a way, because Sergen was known as such a brilliant number 10, but Sergen doesn't really seem to like playing with an actual number 10. He seems to prefer to put a lot of hard workers in midfield who can run and who can put pressure on the opponent and who can win the midfield battle, and then he seems to prefer to create his danger mostly from the flanks, which have been coming with Rashid Ghezal, of course, who has I think 8 assists or something this season. No goals yet though. And then he's putting basically a false winger on the left with Kyle Larin, who when you were speaking earlier about Rosier and Abu Bakar brought in cheap. They were brought in cheap, but I think when you speak about guys like Rosier, Ghezal, Abu Bakar, Joseph, those were all quality injections, like players with a resume, players who you know what you're getting for. But what's more impressive, I think, is what Sergen's done with other players, like Kyle Larin, who I think everyone had written off to like just a year ago. He was brought in on a big wage from the MLS. Low transfer fee, big wage. Initially, he made an impact, scored a hat-trick in his debut and stuff like that. I think it was his debut, at least, against Antalyaspor, I think, like 2 years ago. But then the follow-up season, he really fell through. It didn't work out for him. And I still think to this day you can see that he has a lot of limitations. But the way Sergen uses him, he uses him very well. That also is proven by the fact that I think he scored 11 or 12 goals already this season in the league. And he uses him basically as a false winger on the left, and basically they're playing with a second striker. Ramen scores a lot of goals on set pieces or just in attacks where he basically benefits from the opponent being distracted by the presence of Vincent Aboubakar on top. But what he's done with that, like the transformation of a Kyle Larin, making him into a better player. And of course, Larin had a really good spell last season with Zulte Waregem in Belgium, and that definitely boosted his confidence. But still, Sergen built on that and continued to improve him. He's also done that with young players like Ridwan, and he's done that with players like Ersin. So, yeah, Sergen definitely is working towards the future while also depending on the quality injections that they've gotten with guys like Aboubakar, who instantly could give an impact. So he's doing what Fatih Terim is doing, but he's also working on players for the future and improving those players. Whereas even the younger players for Galatasaray, like Emre Kilic, he's been groomed for 3-4 seasons already. He's already, I'm not going to say a finished product, but he's very much a player that's already come into his own. He's at a perfect age, 25, 26. Like, yeah, he's not going to improve a lot anymore. Even Thailand Antalya, I think he can still improve, but like Fatih Terim, it's been a while since he's really developed and honed the talents of a player. Like, who's the last player he's really done that with? I'm trying to think. Maybe Semi Kaya? Anyone else?
Ozan Kabak?
Yeah, I suppose. Ozan Kabak. But that was like really short period as well and kind of forced to do so. Although I guess you could suggest that Sergen has been forced into that as well with Ersin. And to a lesser extent maybe with Ridvan.
Yeah, that's the thing I should say. Like, Sergen has got to play with two 19-year-olds on the field in a derby game, whereas Fatih Terim...
And a 22-year-old in Montero as well.
Yeah, and Fatih Terim, who we can call like the biggest coach in the country, does not come up with an innovative solution. And demanding players like Vishcha and Irfan Can gives hints about his mentality as well. Like, I respect him, but he has to look for newer solutions on these newer problems and not depend on like old school approaches like playing Ryan Babel on the left wing, or like whenever you go back on the scoreline, you just push Ryan Donk into the forward and look for some crosses. Like, these are so old school approaches for me. Like, you have to go with some new solutions.
I feel like Şenol Güneş did that a lot as well. Like I think Şenol Güneş had a fantastic period at Beşiktaş, obviously, but throughout those years that he was there, I never got the feeling that he gave the chance to young players. I can't remember a single player that he actually did that to. Like, the only player that I think he actually improved while he was at Beşiktaş was Cenk, probably. I think that's the only guy that he really made better into, and that at the start of his term and at the end of his term left as a better player. Like, guys like, okay, he rehabilitated Mario Gomez. He definitely did wonders for Aboubakar as well, but and Anderson Talisca had a great period at Beşiktaş, but they were all already players that knew they could do that, you know? Like, they just needed to...
I think he's the one who brought Ozan Tufan back in Bursaspor.
Yeah.
From the...
Yeah. He did it at
Academy.
Other clubs. He did it at other clubs. Like at Bursaspor, he did wonders with Volkan Şen. He did wonders with Ozan Tufan. I mean, obviously with Volkan Şen, he rehabilitated him, and that's something he has done with for example, Burak Yilmaz. He didn't just rehabilitate Burak; he also turned him into a proper striker. So he definitely has a great track record of doing these things. But for some reason, he didn't do that at Beşiktaş. He just continued to depend on the proven talents, Quaresma and those types of players. And I felt like a lot of the younger players that Beşiktaş bought over the years, like a Matej Mitrovic, Alexander Milosevic, those types, they didn't get chances really. And if they got a chance and they made a mistake, then they were immediately written off. I honestly think if Şenol Güneş was in charge at Beşiktaş right now, a guy like Aydin Hasic wouldn't get an opportunity. I just can't see it. I think Montero wouldn't play either. Just things like that. Like, yeah, I think Montero made a mistake against Gaziantep. if he did that under Şenol Güneş, I think it would have been done. Like, you wouldn't play anymore. Like, one mistake, bam, you're out. And I think...
Well,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The thing is that Sergen made a long interview with a reporter like 2 weeks ago, I think, just before the Christmas, and not going by the spoiler, but he said that none of us see our future for like after 2 or 3 months. None of us have the guarantee of not going to be fired. So people demand us to like raise young kids, young talents to the clubs. But he says that even as a coach, he doesn't see his future in the club as guaranteed. So in that occasion, in that atmosphere, how can a coach raise a player of like young kids, of young talents into the team? Like, I don't know. It's like a, he's...
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I agree with his mentality.
Yeah. A lot of coaches, they don't dare to give opportunities to they don't want to take the risk of taking an opportunity, giving young players opportunities, because they want results now. And if they don't win the match, they get criticized relentlessly. And you can only, like, it's difficult as a coach, without a doubt. And I think definitely the difference is when Şenol Güneş did that at Bursaspor, or even, with all due respect, at Trabzonspor. I think when he came to Beşiktaş, especially after winning the title in his first season and then being expected to win it again and again and again, he just didn't want to take risks and always wanted to fall back on certainties, so to speak. And I think that's something that a coach easily falls into, and that's perhaps what Fatih Terim right now has fallen into, because I think if Galatasaray were more comfortable and they were in the lead of the table, like let's say in the early 2010s when they had Drogba, Sneijder, Burak, Selçuk, and they were all in their prime, I think it was a lot easier back then to give an opportunity to a guy like Semih Kaya, because the team was basically, better than everyone else. Like,
yeah, could be, but the time when he gave the opportunity to Semih Kaya was the time when our top defenders like Servet Çetin and Gökhan Zan went off all injured and suspended, that he had to put Semih Kaya there. And once he played real good in his initial games, he started to give more opportunities to him, and afterwards he became like the main member of the squad.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to Ozan Kabak as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we spoke about Galatasaray, spoke about Trabzonspor, spoke a little bit about Beşiktaş as well already. Let's talk a little bit about Fenerbahçe, because the big news that is keeping everything in Turkish football right now occupied is, of course, Mesut Özil, who is seemingly finally coming to Fenerbahçe, coming to Turkey. I think Özil is 32, going on 33 right now. He's kind of had a spat of falling out at Arsenal, mainly because of political reasons, where I believe he criticized the Chinese government last year of their oppression of the Uyghurs, however I should pronounce that, the minority in the Muslim minority in China.
Uyghurs.
Yeah, the Uyghurs, sorry. The Muslim minority in China. And obviously Premier League and English teams have very big stakeholders in China. That was not received well by the Chinese government, and ever since then, really, Mesut Özil has kind of been brushed aside, been put on the sideline, really, and it's time for him to find a way out there. He has come to an agreement to terminate his deal with Arsenal. Arsenal will still be compensating him for a portion of his wages, and he is on his way to Fenerbahçe now. It's, of course, a massive transfer. The 2014 World Cup winners with Germany, right? 2014. Mesut Özil was an instrumental player in that team. At the same time, Mesut Özil, since retiring from the German national team, since his massive spat with the German media as well. I feel like his career has been fizzling out a little bit. It seems like he hasn't really done much in the last couple of years. How do you guys feel about Mesut Özil coming to Turkey? What type of an impact do you believe he can have on Fenerbahce's team right now? And like Fenerbahce right now, top of the table together with Beşiktaş, both on 38 points after 18 games. But at the same time, I so far have not had the impression that Fenerbahce are a really good team. Like, I feel like they rely a lot on Caner. Got a lot of points because of that. I think they can definitely use something to pull that team together. And Mesut Özil may be the key. I don't know if he is. What do you guys think, Yakup? What do you think of Mesut Özil? Can he make Fenerbahce champions this year? Because that's really what they have to do, right? If Mesut Özil comes, it's make or break.
Well, I think it really depends on how good Özil is when he starts to play again. As you said, he hasn't featured in a while for Arsenal due to several reasons, and it's out of the question that if he returns to his form, he's like clearly the best player in the league. There's no question about that. But as you said, the current situation at Fenerbahce is a bit of an odd one. They transferred like 20 players. They have like 40 billion midfielders, but it seems that they don't really have a clear choice when it comes to the midfield about how they will attack the goal. It does seem like they quite heavily depend on players over the wing, producing some moments that can help them score goals. So I think that if you only account for Özil coming into the team, I think that it's like putting a band-aid over a cut arm at the moment. I think that he could make a big difference, but I think that the whole team has to kind of change to accommodate him. I thought that when they got when they got Sosa at the start of the season, I thought that he would pretty much do the things that he was doing at Trabzonspor. Trying to fill that role as a playmaking player. But his stint at Fenerbahce has been awful so far. So I think that Fenerbahce also depended heavily on a player like Sosa to do what he did last year, and I think that they want to slot in Mesut at his position. I just hope that they won't play him at the wing because I just can't wait for the day that Erol Bulut is telling him to play on the right wing or something. As I said, I think he's a good player. It's a bit difficult with how his fitness is. I'm pretty sure that he, even though he wasn't featured in the team for a while, he did train on his own. But we all know that training on his own is really different to match training and playing in matches and getting into that that mindset of being on the pitch. So it will probably take a bit before he gets going. But all in all, a good transfer. I do think that the financial side is just absolutely bonkers. I have had a couple of Fenerbahce fans on Twitter attack me over that. I just think that especially if you look at the current problems that Galatasaray has with Falcao and Falcao's wages, I think that with the current situation of the Turkish lira, it's not a smart choice to put all your money into one basket, so to say, to hope that a midfielder is going to take you to the next step. With his reported wages being around 5 million only as salary and the extra bonuses that get added onto it on the with goals and appearances and assists, I think that if they don't become champions this year, it's just it's done for Ali Koç, and I think that this season the signing of Özil will exemplify that He threw all the money into the into the club, but it didn't really get him anything. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot for Fener fans. They have to win it, and if they don't, it's pretty much a failure at this point.
The thing with Fenerbahce is, I think they made a lot of transfers, like you said, like 20 players or something. But if we look at all those transfers they've made, Mert Hakan Yandaş, he's not been a great success. I'm not gonna call him a bust, but like he's not been a hit. Neither has Gökhan Gönül's return. Like he's been questionable. Obviously, I think having a guy like Gökhan Gönül in your team is never bad. Sangare, I think, was a good signing. Caner has been proven to be a good signing. Samata has been injured for a long time. Valencia has been out for a long time. Thiam he's been scoring goals lately again, but he has been injured for a while. On top of that, I don't think he's a Fenerbahce level player necessarily. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I also don't think that Kyle Larin is necessarily a Beşiktaş level player, but he's performing, so it doesn't matter if they score goals, right? Then you have Ademi, who hasn't really done anything at all. Sosa has been a bust. I think we can just say that he's been a flop. Filip Novak has been a flop. Like, what's that? What those two guys they have at the back called again? I forget their name. Tisserand is.
Tisserand and Lemos.
Yeah, Tisserand and Lemos are both questionable. I feel like neither of them are. They're no Luganos. They're no. Back in the Fenerbahce have always had at least one really good center back. Simon Kjær, Martin Skrtel, Lugano. Like, traditionally, they've always had that over the last 20 years or so, almost. And they just don't have that right now. They don't. Like, I think right now their big guy at the back is Altay. And with Altay, you never know. He can... I mean... He escapes sometimes, but, like, he has many moments where he should just get sent off. Like, against Beşiktaş in the derby, clear handball, escapes somehow, far, decides not to look at it. But, like, he does things like that frequently because he's very aggressive in coming out, which is part of what makes him good. But sometimes, more often, it happens relatively frequently that he comes out in a bad way, and then he's like, I remember last year he had a clear red card situation, but then he gets bailed out because there was an offside position just before that. And like, I feel like that's happened since he joined Fenerbahce like at least 4 times, where he has that situation where he just escapes from a red card. I think recently he got a red card, right, as well. Obviously, whatever. But Altay is a great goalkeeper for Fenerbahce right now. He has shortcomings, obviously, but he's one-on-one. He's probably the best in the league right now, I would say. Obviously, Muslera isn't playing, but from the keepers that are playing at the moment. But yeah, just Fenerbahce. I feel like chemistry-wise, they aren't where they should be. If I look at Beşiktaş, they're not playing great football all the time. They certainly aren't. But when I look at them, I feel like there's a team there and players that are fighting for each other, fighting for their coach every match. And there's great team chemistry. Fenerbahce, I don't see that. I don't see that being the case. Like, I don't feel like they're fighting for Erol Bulut. I don't feel like they are fighting for one another. I think it's just like, that's kind of what you get when you get 20 new players in, which are basically all mercenaries. Footballers all are, really. But, you have to have like a base of players that have been at the club for X amount of years. And for Fenerbahce, almost every player, except for a couple like Ozan Tufan and stuff, they're all new. And it takes a while before you forge a proper team spirit, team chemistry. And right now, I don't see that for Fenerbahce. Their big plus is that they have gathered a lot of points, despite the fact that they are not yet a great team. Now, the positive elan they are on right now, with all the wins, it can go quickly. We saw it a couple of years ago with Galatasaray, where they almost changed their entire first 11. They had a really early start in Europe with Östersund and stuff like that, which got them meshing early on. And after a couple of months, like, they were already a solid cohesive unit. And that's definitely something that can happen at Fenerbahce as well. I don't know if Erol Bulut is the man to do it, but it can definitely happen. Mesut Özil, without a question of a doubt, like Yakup said, if he goes to his old form, it will by far and large be the best player in the Turkish league. But the question is that enough? Mesut Özil traditionally is known as a man of the assist, not a man of the goal. He's not Alex, he's more a guy that prepares a goal, not that he doesn't score goals, but he's, the assist king, right? The question then is, who is he going to feed? Who is going to be the man that finishes it off, like Papi Cisse, Thiam, of course Samatta. Like Samatta, we still have to wait and see. Like, he had a great couple of years with Genk, flopped in England. He's potentially a really good player for them, but we still have to wait and see. And Thiam and Cisse, I just don't think are champion maker materials. Like, they aren't guys like Drogba, Burak, Gomez, those types of big strikers. And I think you do kind of need that, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. But Umut, what are your expectations from Mesut Özil and Fenerbahce? What is your impression from Fenerbahce as a team so far this season? And how do you see Mesut Özil fitting into that puzzle? And do you believe he can lift them up to a higher level, which will be required to win the title?
Well, first I should say a brief thing about Mesut. I mean, he's capable of bringing great quality to the team, but bringing a player who plays in the same position as Pelkas, who currently is the best player, in my opinion, in the team. And I can see how the team and the lineup will be after Mesut's arrival. I mean, we all know he has passed his age and still have a live example like him, like Arda Turan in Galatasaray, who really needed to redeem himself to the fans and the club. So giving his all during the games and plays and currently dictate the team. So Mesut can fit in the team in that manner with a similar role, but we still have no idea of his mindset and how determined he will be on the field. I know he lacks a work rate on the field. I don't think it's a rational move by the club to transfer him, knowing his lack of work rate on the field and knowing the kind of play style where 9 outfielders carry one man defensively and defending with one player missing. I mean, we can see even Barcelona struggles to carry Messi when he fails to perform enough to keep his team ahead all the times.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is a similar situation why Mesut lost his place in Arsenal, because I think Premier League is a league, in my opinion, the most dynamic league where all the players need to perform with a lot of effort. And after a while, it gets nearly impossible to play with a one-man down defensively. I mean, he can provide assists and goals, but when it gets to defense, playing with one man down is pretty bad, actually. But on the other hand, Mesut brought a lot of attention to the club by using his social media, and currently all the spotlights are on him and expect him to perform. And I don't think he will bottle this opportunity in that kind of way. I expect him to perform good, but I don't know how long will he stay fit, until he retires.
Yeah. How old is Mesut now? He's 32, right? But is he turning 33 already? Or
seeing that, I would say he's the same age Hagi has arrived to Galatasaray. So, yeah, you can see the difference. I don't know if he's capable of giving this similar success to Fenerbahce that Hagi gave in the same age to Galatasaray.
Yeah, but you also need to look at what Hagi came into. Hagi came into a generation of players like Hakan, like Okan, Umit Avala, Hakan Ünsal, all those great Turkish talents. If we look at the current Fenerbahce crop of players, like there's Ozan Tufan, and then what is there? It's all old guys, right? Yeah, Pelkas. Sorry, yeah, I totally forgot. Pelkas actually, he has been amazing. I feel he's he has been one of the main reasons, apart from Caner, obviously, for Fenerbahce to pick up as many points as they have. But like, when you look at this Fenerbahce team, like, I don't know, it doesn't strike me as a team that's going to win the league.
Well, if in the recent weeks we saw that defensively Fenerbahce team were lacking the rotation, that they had to play Sadık at the end of the day in the center back, because the player who they just bought, Lemos, wasn't good enough to play in the starting squad at all. So they had to just rely on Serdar Aziz and Tisserand, and when one of them just gets injured or suspended, they're in a big danger defensively. And also, if they lose Ozan Tufan or Luis Gustavo, they're in terrible danger as well, because they don't have any substitutes that has the same quality at all.
Yeah, and there's been rumors that Ozan Tufan may actually be... well, those rumors are always there, really. Like, Ozan is one of... Like, I guess right now, Ozan is their alongside Altay, obviously, their most valuable player to sell, I think, to get a good transfer fee for. And there's been rumors of interest in him, again, like there always really are, whenever he's doing good. Of course, he was almost written off not too long ago, until Sergen Yalchin rehabilitated him at Alanya. But I mean, what are they gonna have to do to make financial room for Mesut Özil? Like, is the Vedat transfer alone isn't going to cope? I think the Vedat transfer kind of was used to bring in all the players they've brought in thus far, because they brought in, like you guys said, like 20 players. It's a big financial investment. So the rumors are, of course, that I believe Akun is going to be playing for Mesut Özil, or at least part of the transfer, that it's going to be a sponsored deal and stuff like that. Pretty sure financial fair play doesn't really allow that, but on the other hand, what happened with Neymar, right? So financial fair play can say and do what they want, but there's always creative ways to go around that stuff. So I don't know about the financial aspect of it. I don't really think that... I mean, look, let's be honest. Ali Koç has been finding creative ways to keep Fenerbahce afloat. I also don't think that even if they don't win the title, I don't think it can be the end of Ali Koç, because I don't know who's gonna step in and take over that financial load that Fenerbahce are carrying. They need Ali Koç to keep them alive right now. With 660 plus million euros in debt, that's the most of any Turkish club right now. And the quarterly reports can say what they want, but Fenerbahce are in deep financial trouble. And the only reason they are okay right now is because Ali Koç keeps flooding the bill, keeps picking up the tab.
I mean, Fenerbahce has the good chance that they have a lot of wealthy people can just take over. A lot of fans have been talking about Ali Koç for a while, but he can easily be replaced by someone else. A lot of people think that Acun will someday will take over, but it's just with the current situation of financial fair play, it's just it's pushing the problem away until you can't see it anymore, and then running after it. So it's going to be difficult for pretty much any Turkish team. I have seen the quarterly reports, and Fenerbahçe on paper has the least amount of loss, with Galatasaray and Beşiktaş having a lot more. But in the same time, you don't have to go that long back to see Galatasaray have sportive success, Beşiktaş have sportive success, and Fenerbahçe has been lacking in that department for a long time. So I think that, with the fans really being desperate for a championship for all those years, I think that if Ali Koç really can't bring a championship to the team, it doesn't matter if he brings Ronaldo or Messi to the team. I think he will be on his way out, because, as I said, there will always be a rich guy that is ready to take over a team as big as Fenerbahçe. It won't even surprise me if Aziz Yıldırım takes over in a couple of years, because why not? And the current problems at Fenerbahçe are just like they define what the current problems in Turkey are. You can push all older players on massive wages to push the team over the ledge to become champion, but financially it just breaks the team, because there is no way you can sustain it unless you become champion every year.
And even that isn't enough, really.
Yeah, you saw it at Beşiktaş when they became champions, and they started to spend a lot more money. But the moment you don't become champion, those wages, they hurt really bad, And Galatasaray did the same thing. So, hindsight is 20/20, of course, but it seems that the fans are at the moment are content with it, because they think in short term, and the club presidents tend to do that too, because they only become the president for a short term generally, so they don't really care what happens after they go. But it's odd. It's odd. I think that currently it's just, I don't think that there's a clear team that's going to take the title this year. I think that Beşiktaş has been doing really well over the past weeks, but quality-wise they might be lacking a bit, and it's going to be a tough season, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I think to talk about Beşiktaş for a second, I think that what Sergen has done with the material he has is very impressive. That said, I don't think he would have been able to do this if he didn't get Abubakar, if he didn't get Gazal, if he didn't get Joseph de Souza. Like, those guys have been a big quality injection. But like Umut said earlier as well, like, those were all guys brought in on very limited resources. Like, Beşiktaş have not spent a lot at all on transfers. Like, they've brought in some guys on loan, and then they brought in like a guy like Abubakar on, obviously with his injury history, like a very cheap deal and a very low risk deal for themselves. So Beşiktaş fans have been very critical of their transfer policy, and it took Beşiktaş a while because they had a slow start of the season. But you have to look at the transformation of the team compared to last season. Like, a lot of players went. Can Ergökhan obviously went. They kind of lost Laiç, even though he's still there, but like, he's not been he hasn't played a part in the team at all this season. Hopefully that'll change in the future. And like, the signs currently are pointing towards Laiç still having a future at the club. It looked for a while that he had some issues with Sergen and stuff like that, but the verbiage that is being used by Sergen, by club officials right now, definitely point toward the fact that, look, he's just had issues with an injury, he's had corona, but we are counting on him when he gets back to full fitness, so we'll have to wait and see on that part. But yeah, like, at the end of the day, I did not think Beşiktaş would play for the title this year, if I'm quite honest. I didn't think Beşiktaş would be playing for the title for a couple of years. So in that regard, like, it's been great being a Beşiktaş fan, because if you're realistic, I think, if you were realistic 6 months ago, I think you were in for like, the next 5 years are going to be painful. And right now we're in the middle of a title race, so that's positive, right? On top of that, I think one of the most positive aspects as well is Sergen's record in the big games, where at first you could think, maybe it's a little bit of luck. But if you look at it now, this season 4 quote-unquote derbies, and they've won everything. They beat Trabzonspor, they beat Basaksehir, they beat Fenerbahce away for the first time since 2005, and they beat Galatasaray. And then last season when he came in, they drew against Galatasaray and Turk Telecom Arena. Obviously, that was the first match with no fans, so that did definitely play a part. And I can't recall what they... Oh yeah, and they beat Fenerbahce at Vodafone Park. I don't remember what they did against Trabzonspor, nor Başakşehir. I can't really recall. But definitely, Sergen has a record in these big games. So I feel like for the first time in a very long time, whereas as Beşiktaş, you go into these big matches, and I'm not going to say you feel comfortable for a win, but you do feel like we're not going to get spanked. We're going to play our game and we're going to make it difficult, and we're probably going to get something from this match. That's a feeling that I, as a Beşiktaş fan, haven't had for a very long time. Even with Şenol Güneş, yes, the home games you felt that, but the away games is always kind of Şenol Güneş never managed to win away at Fenerbahce, for example. Obviously different times, whatever. But with Slaven Bilic, it was a big thing, was he did really well in the small games, but the big matches he'd always come up short. And that's something that's definitely different now. And I saw a couple of interesting points being made recently. One was from the father of a friend, of two friends of mine, and he said Sergen's probably really lucky for the current situation with Corona, because the team was bad at the beginning of the season, and it took a while for the team to mesh. And I 100% agree with what he said, because I am 100% sure guys like Wellington, guys like Ensakala, those types of transfers which are perceived as not good enough by fans, they would have gotten booed relentlessly if it wasn't for the fact that there's no fans. We all know how Turkish fans can be and how toxic they can be sometimes, especially when it comes to signings that they don't like. It's Wellington, as a guy from Alanyaspor, he's 30 years old, blah, 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 But because there was this time at the beginning of the season where the fans weren't a factor, really, except for social media, it allowed this team to mesh, to grow, and now become a formidable side. Not saying that they're always playing amazing football, but Beşiktaş are, without a shadow of doubt, a tough team. Doesn't matter who you get, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, whatever, they're always going to have a tough time against this Beşiktaş. I'm not saying they're unbeatable, but they are a formidable side, and that's just the way it is. Doesn't mean Beşiktaş is going to win every game easily, because we've seen that almost every game is difficult. No matter who you play, Ankara, Gücü, Hatay, Göztepe, whatever, that's coming up soon. But they are a formidable team. Whereas with Galatasaray, it's and Fenerbahce, they're also obviously formidable sides, but we've seen with Fenerbahce, just a couple of weeks ago, they had a real period where I think it was their season was almost over, and they were really lucky in that game against Basaksehir, because they were coming off of 2 home defeats in 3 games, and then they played Basaksehir, and I think they got really lucky there, because Gustavo should have always been red carded and sent off, and then it ended up that Rafael got sent off for a fall he didn't even commit with a second yellow card, and they ended up winning that match against Basaksehir. And that was the turning point for Fenerbahce. Had they lost that game, I don't think they would be in the position they're in right now. I think their season would be over already. Sergen keeps saying, Uzun bir marathon, it's a long marathon, and it's definitely true. We're going to have 40 match days this season. If I'm not mistaken, 2 more games to go before the halfway line, so to speak. And there's still so much more to be said and done this season, and things can turn really quickly. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, Fenerbahce looked out, but they turned things around. They've gone on a winning streak, and that can happen at any point. Beşiktaş they're playing Fatih Karagümrük this weekend, and that's a tough side. Beşiktaş could just lose that game, go into a negative spiral, start losing matches, drop doping points. Same thing can happen for Galatasaray on the other end. They can suddenly start going on a winning streak, like Fenerbahce have. And Like, it's still such a long way to go right now. It's very difficult to predict who will be at the top of the table. Like, I mean, even Trabzonspor are completely not out of the race at all, I think, at this point, with the way they've been slowly but surely developing into a better team under Abdullah Avci. Like, they could very well, like, match day 27, they could be at the top of the table. You never know. It's a very unpredictable season, especially with these fans, with no fans being allowed. I'm very curious how that is going to develop. Like, let's say come May or something, are we going to start seeing 25% of the stadium full or something? And is that going to come into play for the deciding matches? Beşiktaş, for example, will play Galatasaray on match day, 37 or something? Could be a deciding match for the title. Maybe there's fans back in Türk Telekom at that point. So that's all going to be very fascinating to watch and continue to follow this season. Anyway, I'm very excited for the season, and I didn't feel like this a couple of months ago. In the second half of last season, with no fans being there, Corona, the way the world was going, I really was down on football for a while. I didn't enjoy watching football without fans. But I definitely think that Digiturk as well, like them chiming in crowd sounds, definitely helps for my immersion in matches when I'm watching the games. I don't know how you guys feel about that. And are you happy to have the distraction of football? Whereas I know you were all kind of down on the idea, right, a couple of months ago. But how are you feeling about that now?
No, I'm happy with the way it is at the moment. I find myself enjoying much more games than usual. I generally, do watch a couple of teams outside of Trabzonspor, but don't really care a lot about them. But I have seen myself just, being glued to the screen for a random match, because it's, it takes you away from the daily annoyance of not being able to do anything. I don't really care about the crowd noise. It's nice to have it, but it's not really like I'm depending on it. But there was a couple of weeks back, there was a little bit of an issue with beIN Sports using some sounds at the Fenerbahce game where they talked where they cursed about Fenerbahce or something, and and Fenerbahce had a protest a couple of days ago after their game that they wore T-shirts talking about how they want honest representation from beIN Sports, and they decided to not show that. So it's Turkish the Turkish league doesn't it can battle with the best of the best when it comes to drama series.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's always nice to have it back.
There's always a little bit of censorship as well. Remember, like, when there would be like curses in the crowd, they just completely drown out the sound and stuff like that.
Yeah, the big derby matches were always really fun because there were like big, like minutes of the game that were just censored because they were either talking crap about the opponents or the referee or whatever. It's Turkish league is fun. It might not be the best quality footballing wise, but everything that comes with it is just unbelievably great.
And how about you, Umut? Have you felt like football's been a good distraction for you?
Yeah, at least we have something to watch regularly during the weekends, and now due to the lack of match load, we can also be busy watching the league during the weekdays as well. So I think it's good to have this kind of adventure, this kind of adrenaline pumping down in the league. Since our childhood, we've been watching the league, the teams we support. So there hasn't been this kind of a long time we were out of football due to the corona case. So the importance or the need is actually noticed after we were so much away from it, and after it came back is a good thing to know, a good thing to watch, and still supporting our clubs, watching the league, even though it's full of bad decisions, or the quality of football is not being great, but still we watch it. I don't know why, but maybe the team we support competes in it.
Masochism.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been great actually. The how we say in Turkish, we say atışma, the you know the thing between these big teams supporters, the fans, all over the social media in every week. We are used to it, so I don't know if we missed it, but because of the games, it's all over again, and I'm actually happy from it, to seeing the competitiveness, the fanatism of the fans all over the social networks. I think we need it.
Yeah, for sure. If Turkish football wants to survive, social media in that regard. I mean, I often think social media is negative, has a negative impact and stuff. But in this regard, I mean, how else are we gonna gauge the reaction of the fans and stuff like that, and keep like you said, the fanaticism alive, like keep it interesting as well, and to a certain degree. And the circus that Turkish football is really, it will never really go away. I mean, just look at the recent events with Sumudika at Gaziantep, and what was he doing? Like trying to get more money and claiming he had an offer from some Arab club or something, and then eventually Antep ended up firing him. Now he's at Rizespor. They are actually playing right now against each other. And I just got
Also, we have to mention that Göztepe signed Ünal Karaman this afternoon.
Yeah.
And also Antep signed who was he? Ricardo Sapinto. I think he's Portuguese.
Yeah. Former Sporting Lisbon striker, and he was at Standard Liège in Belgium coaching them. Very fiery, temperamental coach. He'll fit right in.
Yeah, it's good news then.
Yeah, for sure. He reminds me a bit of Sérgio Conceição. Very similar personalities, I think. But his post-match interviews in Belgium were always great. Always worth of a watch. So another character in our league, and it will definitely add to the circus of Turkish football. But yeah, guys, I've been taking a lot of your time already. We've been speaking for a while. We had a lot to catch up on, obviously. Unfortunately, Burak couldn't be here to give his perspective on Fenerbahce, or Özer to give his perspective on Galatasaray. Recording is difficult at the moment, unfortunately. I'm currently in between houses. We just sold the house that we used to live in. Now we're building a new house. We're now temporarily living somewhere in a temporary house, so to speak, and it's just really difficult to record in the evenings because it's a small cube, basically, where everything is very short packed up on each other. So when the wife and kid are sleeping, usually I used to record, but now it's difficult. I'd be keeping them up, so we'll have to be creative a little bit and try to find maybe like afternoons, like this Wednesday afternoon or something, Wednesday afternoon perhaps, for recording. Also, with matches coming so close to each other, it's really difficult for us to say, oh, we're gonna do this match day now, because there's like 3 match days in a week. It's very difficult to do that now. So we'll just be doing a little bit more broader discussions, and hopefully try to get some episodes out to you more frequently in the coming months. We're now 2 matches removed from the halfway line in the league. Like we said before, it's very difficult to predict who's going to be champions, but let's have a stab at it anyway, just so we can get proven wrong at the end of the season. Umut, as it currently stands, who do you think will lift the trophy at the end of the season?
We will never know because we have too long to go, but current impressions say Beşiktaş is more ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yakup, what do you think?
I agree. I think that Beşiktaş will will or might take the might take the title at the end of the season. And depending on what Fenerbahce does with Özil, they might also be. But I think at the current moment, I think Beşiktaş.
Yeah, same opinion here. Really, I think Beşiktaş look like the most of a team. They look like a team. I don't feel like any. I don't feel like any other team right now really feels like a cohesive team that can lift the title at the end of the season. But you never know. Like Yakup pointed out, Beşiktaş might lack a little bit of quality, a little bit of eccentric quality. Like they have good individual players like Abubakar and Ghazal and stuff, but they might lack a little bit of flair. I think they're gonna need an Adem Laic to be good in the second half of the season to add them that little extra if they want to lift it. And of course, like I said earlier, things can turn around really quickly. We might just see Galatasaray go on a tear in a couple of weeks and just win like 7, 8, 9 games in a row. You never know. One more thing that we forgot to talk about, and that is a very important thing. It's last season's champion, Basaksehir. What on earth is going on there? They are literally in the relegation zone right now. Had a so-so Champions League campaign. Couldn't really expect more from them what they managed to accomplish there. I mean, they were in a really tough group. But in the league, by God, what's going on there? Umut in the group chat has made reference to Claudio Ranieri at Leicester, winning the title one season, then the next season having to get sacked because they were almost getting relegated. Is the same thing going to happen to Okan Buruk? How much longer can he hold on to his job if they keep going the way they're going? Umut, let's get your thoughts on this quickly.
Well, from the works of Okan Buruk during his Akhisar days and afterwards Başakşehir, I don't think he's a bad coach at all, but I think he made the wrong planning before the start of the season, and this is the result of it. By using old players like Martin Schkoetel and relying on players like Dembaba and Enzo Crivelli up front, who have so limited to provide you. So older squad can result you in bad consequences because the time when Başakşehir were successful during the era of Abdullah Avcı, there were a team of like a bunch of years. It was a collective team of those years, which is a result of that kind of partnership after all those years. And Okan Buruk somehow had the opportunity to have the team under his coaching and got the title at the end. But I think he didn't see that the team aged too much after all those seasons, and he didn't went on and renewed the team with new players, youngsters. So I think that's the result of it.
What do you think, Yakup? Are you surprised by the downfall of Başakşehir?
Yeah, I am. I don't really get it. I think that Umut has been right because the teams, I don't know. It seems kind of weird. I do think that they have great players. I do think that they added a lot of great players. They got players like Giuliano, like Chadli. They got Deniz Türüç, who I think is a pretty good player, but it doesn't work, and I don't get why it doesn't work. I haven't been able to watch a lot of games of them outside of the game that they played against us, and even during that game, you could see that they depended on like two players, and Visha and Irfan Can pretty much made the difference. Even though they have a lot of great players, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. And it was clear that they wouldn't be able to replicate the success of last year because Um, Almost no team in Turkey that, outside of the top four that gets that big, um, is able to extend those good days for a long time, because the other big four teams always catch up and they will always get better while you get worse. But if you look at the current squad, they do seem to have a pretty good squad. Um, they are up there with age. I think that maybe that could be an issue. But to see such a big downfall like immediately after a championship season, it was just I couldn't believe it. I did think that they wouldn't be the same as last year, but to see them, being a mid-table team at the moment, they are 13th. It's pretty odd. Okanburg didn't turn crap, overnight. So someone wonders what the current problems are.
There's also some weird stuff going on there with like Mert Günok getting dropped, Volkan Babacan playing, making a lot of mistakes. Like saw some criticism on Mert at the start of the season where he was getting blamed for stuff, but then like it feels like Okan kind of shared that sentiment, blamed Mert, benched him. But then Volkan just went and did even worse, and I don't get why Mert isn't back in the team. It feels like some players have mentally checked out. Especially Irfan Can seems to be, like right now the rumors, of course, are that Fatih Terim just came out flat and said it. I want Irfan Can. Obviously, Irfan Can is a player with a lot of value right now. Basaksehir want at least 15 or so million euros for him. That I don't think that's something Galatasaray can pay, especially given what their president said just last week. But yeah, I mean, Irfan Can, I think his father went on Beyaz TV or something this week and said, Irfan wants to go to Galatasaray. He grew up as a Fenerbahce fan, but his uncles turned him into a Galatasaray fan, and he wants to leave. He wants to go to Galatasaray now and stuff like that. I read those quotes. I guess he said them on air. I didn't see it myself. That's very, very interesting, very peculiar. Like, if I was Irfan Can, like, it's a weird transfer to try and force, I feel. Like, not really realistic. Because Başakşehir is not going to let him go cheap just because he wants to go. Like, they didn't do that with Edin Visca. They're not going to do it with Irfan Can, who has a lot more value for them. Especially, I mean, scoring a hat-trick in the Champions League, surely there's some interest from abroad as well. And yeah, like, just if you're going to try and force a transfer, try to force a realistic one, right? Like, it's not like Başakşehir are suddenly going to ask half of what they're asking just because Irfan Can wants to go, despite the fact that he did help them to a title and stuff like that. Sorry, that was my dog deciding to sneeze. So yeah, interesting to see what's going to happen there. Guys like Enzo Crivelli were on the top of the world like this time last year, and now recently I saw a rumor Gustepe might be interested in getting him. Like, what's going on there? Like, it just feels like a lot of players declined. They let a lot of players go. Obviously, Arda was a bid player for them last season. Barely featured in the squad. Like, he was let go. That's not a big surprise there. But like Gael Clichy, he was an important player. Replaced by Rafael. Rafael hasn't been as good for sure. And they are of course trying to transition. They had a really old squad last season. They're trying to get some younger players in transition to a newer generation, but it just hasn't worked out for them so far, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether they can actually come back. Like, again, a winning streak would help them a lot, but they've just had a terrible season, and it doesn't look like it's going to be changing anytime soon. They just lost to Kayserispor, who are a legit relegation candidate right now. Başakşehir having a poor season, not a great impression left in the Champions League either. So their confirmation season after their championship winning season last year definitely has been a bust so far. But I think that'll have to do it for us this week, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for listening as well. Appreciate you guys making the time this afternoon to record and to put out another episode of Football Turca, and hopefully we can make it a little bit more frequent in the coming months. So thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for listening to Football Ala Turca, and we will be back as soon as possible. Bye bye.